from the Wildwind Boat Park. Wildwind is a sailing holiday centre on the Greek island of Lefkos, where in the summer it is windy pretty much every day, and we've got a large varied fleet of catamarans and dinghies. Okay, hello Timon. There is nah, yeah, that's a Hobie Tiger out on the water at the moment. Was that a typo perhaps over that, or I didn't understand fully what you were saying? So if you're watching this not live, so this is going out on Friday afternoon in Greece. If you're watching this later on, if you leave a comment, which is a question, then I will get back to you perhaps in next week's session, or if it's more viable just to reply to the comment, to your question in the comments, I'll do that. But I won't actually be able to respond to you in the session. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but who can say? And apologies in advance for the tappy on the scroll back. So checking in, we've got Jerome. Hey, great to have you on board. Yeah, there is a boat in the water. It's a Hobie Tiger. First time out for that boat. And you'll be seeing, that is a little cheeky preview for you. You'll be seeing that one in this weekend's Show Us Your Cat episode 100. Okay, Lil Farmer 07, hello. Freya, oh hi Freya, great to have you on board. Thanks for tuning in, hope you're doing well. Hello Nick. All right, so as always, I've got some preloaded questions just to keep us going until you guys who are watching live have, well, in case you haven't got any questions, but you don't have to come armed with questions. But so I've got some preloaded ones. So I'm just going to start steaming through. The first one comes from Kuro 5150, and he says he's noticed that the stitching in his trampoline is starting to break. He says the more tension that is accumulated on the remaining stitches, and those bad boys are starting to break as well. So it's kind of like a vicious circle. Once you lose a few stitches, you're going to lose more stitches till you haven't got any stitches left. He says the fabric looks okay. Is it reasonable to try to fix it himself? And what kind of tools and thread should he use? Okay, I would say the easiest and most straightforward way and quickest way to get that sorted is to take the trampoline off the boat, give it a wash, and then take it to a sailmaker who would be able to restitch your trampoline in a matter of seconds. It won't take them very long at all. And what you could do is perhaps it is an indication that if some stitches have started going, then perhaps more stitches are going to start going. So well worth getting the whole trampoline restitched if you've got the time and if you've got a sailmaker who can do that job for you. If you do need, if you are kind of forced to do it yourself, if there's no sailmakers around who can do it, or if you just have to get out on the water and you've just noticed that your boat needs that sort of attention, then the stuff to use, the thread, is whipping twine. Whipping twine is like a very, very strong, it's a cotton-like thread, but it's extremely strong. You can buy it in most chandleries or boat shops, and then just any needle which will accept the whipping twine. A good tool to have is a sailmaker's palm, which is a piece that sits here. It's unlikely that most people have one of those, which you put the end of the needle right in the middle, and then you can push on it quite firmly, because to get a needle through the trampoline can be quite an effort. So some sort of help is good. The other thing you can use is a pair of pliers, and you can use those to push it through and then use those to grab the needle on the bottom side and pull it through. When you're restitching the trampoline, try to use the same zigzag stitches that were on there originally, because they won't pull as much as a straight stitch. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. That is what we've got on the topic of restitching the trampoline. Okay, Lil Farmer 07 says, I have a Hobie 16 and was wondering why it takes so much to hold on to the tiller. So what that sounds like is you're getting a lot of what we'd call weather helm, or perhaps you could call it just heavy steering. There's a few things we can do to make the steering less heavy. The first thing to look at is the rudders. I know it sounds pretty obvious. I haven't got a boat on a trolley at the moment which I could demonstrate this on, but when you let's have a look at a rudder and we can perhaps see a little bit more. All right, I'm just getting out and about, kind of a bit blocked in by boats here. So this would be the same for any type of boat, any brand, any manufacturer. But what we're looking for is when you put the rudder blade down, when it's locked down, it wants to sit really tight into the front of the lower casting. So it goes in there, and when you load it with pressure, it can't come back. If the rudder is allowed to come back at all, that is going to make for very heavy steering. So you want it sitting right up in there, and that should make the steering as light as possible. So if it is coming back, then I would suggest, rather than me trying to explain everything right here, is the servicing the rudders video will explain everything on the subject of what you need to do to get your rudders really in the sweet spot. And then if your rudders are in really good, have been serviced and they're definitely set up nicely, one other thing you can check on the rudders is on the front edge of the rudder blades. Here we go, I'm just see if we can see this. So we're having a look at a rudder blade. There's the front edge of the rudder blade. And on the front edge here, you'll see that most rudder blades are actually made of two halves which are stuck together. Yeah, so the rudder blade is built like this, two halves. If the glue that has stuck the rudder blade together like this, if the glue is broken and the rudder blade is no longer stuck together firmly, what that means is the blade can bend very easily, and that bending is going to make your steering feel really weird. So if your steering just feels plain weird, check your leading edges of your rudder blades, check for any cracking down there, and if there is, then you need to glue the rudder blade back together or take it to a boat builder who can do that for you. And then if the blades are fine, they're set up nicely, it might be your mast is too far to the back. The further your mast is to the back, it's going to put more load onto the steering, which could result in heavier steering. And then, so check out, I'm just going to suggest some videos to check out, because all of these things do go into some detail. So check out the mast rake video for the type of boat that you're sailing. If you're sailing a 16, there is a mast rake video for the 16. If you're sailing an F18 or an 18-foot boat, slightly bigger boat, there is a mast rake video more appropriate for those boats. But get the mast rake right, get your rudders sorted, and then the only other thing that can make your steering really heavy is if you've got too much main sheet on, or where it is that you're standing on the boat when you're on the trapeze. Sometimes if you're too far forwards, it can, so the trim is putting the nose of the boat down too much, that can create quite heavy steering. Or if you're too far back, then you're putting too much rudder in the water. That can also create heavy steering. There we go. I think there's a few things to look at there. Right, I'm just going to scroll back. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, everybody. It's nice that you are into it. All right, David, hi. Looks a bit grey there. It's pretty hot, to be honest. But it is a lit. We have got what sort of level? This is like a mid-level cloud that is making it appear perhaps slightly less blue in the sky department than what we are used to. Did you get... Oh, yeah, David, yeah, sorry. I did get your question regarding the length of the Hobie 16 shrouds. I've been looking for... Somebody else asked me the same thing recently, and I've been looking for the response that I gave to them because I haven't actually got the length of Hobie 16 shrouds written down anywhere. So I haven't got that information to hand because all of our Hobie 16 masts are now up, and to get that length I would have to drop the mast, which I know doesn't sound like much, but we've got a lot on at the moment. But I'll keep looking for that response that I gave to somebody else for the same question. Apologies there. All right, so Russell, happy Friday. Yeah, to you too. Thanks for tuning in. Can you discuss a bit about the jib clew positions on the F18? When and why? Would you adjust away from the center position? Okay, so just quickly before we talk about the clew positions, the tack position is also going to be related to the clew position of your jib sheet. If you move the jib up higher, it is going to, the sheets are going to be pulling down more. I think, does that make sense to everyone? If we put the jib up higher, so if on the adjustment at the front, if we put it higher up, the jib is going to pull down more, giving us a tighter leech and a looser foot. Now, what we always want with our jib is to have the foot, sorry, let's do it the other way around, is to never have the leech tighter than the foot. So the bottom of the sail should always be a little bit tighter than the back edge, because what we want the back edge of the sail to do is just to open up slightly as we go up the height of it. So, so there we go. So we don't want to put the jib too high up on the adjustment at the front. In fact, in most boats these days, what everybody is trying to do is put the jib as low down as possible on the adjustment at the front. And what that is going to do, we're going to get more drive from the jib, and the pressure in the jib is going to have less of a hull flying kind. What word? I'm missing a word here. But the pressure in the jib isn't going to make you want to fly the hull as much, but instead the energy from the jib is going to make the boat go faster if we have it lower down. A lot like when we were talking about the deck sweeper mainsail. By moving the sail area lower down, it means we're not going to be as top heavy effectively. So the power that we've got there is going to be working more to drive us forwards. So with that being said, jib as low as possible. Clew positions, yes, the middle clew position is generally optimal for most conditions. The only change that we do with the clew positions is if you were going out and it was going to be very windy all of the time, would be to move the clew position down one hole. So from the middle, just down one. And what that is going to do is tighten the foot of the sail up more and loosen the leech more. By loosening the leech, that is going to be spilling wind for us, opening up the slot between the jib and the mainsail, and it's going to allow that airflow a lot more space to move through, thus making the boat go faster. And also, if you keep your jib clew in the original position when it's getting windy, you can get this back winding off the jib, where the wind comes off the jib, hits the back of the mainsail about a bit square, which could backwind the mainsail, could do strange things to your mast rotation and so on. So one hole down on the jib clew adjustment when it's windy. That's not just for F-18s. We can apply that to the Hobie 16 as well, or any boat, in fact, that has multiple positions on the clew of the jib. Thanks for the question there, Russell. All right, just scrolling back. Sorry for the tappy noise, but I have pretty much given up on the microphone for these sessions. Attila, hope we'll have some juicy questions. Yet it's pretty juicy around here. Hi, Wim. Great to have you on board. Nick, have you tried wing foiling? No, not yet, but I'm told that Club Vass, who are just next door to us on the beach here, they're getting, I think, 6 of them for the summer, and I've already sort of talked to the right people about being able to have a go. I've heard it's quite an upper back and arm workout, holding all that power just like, and it's pulling up slightly. So I think you get brand new aches and pains, the likes of which you haven't even felt before. Okay, Timon, I bought Daggerboard stoppers for my catamaran. How do I apply these correctly? Okay, if the Daggerboard stoppers are what I'm thinking they are, let's go and take a look at some. Woohoo! All right. Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit trapped in this current position. It's not easy being cheesy today. All right, so we've got an FX1 here with some Daggerboard friction plates. So this is what we're looking at. It does depend a bit on, these are quite old, as we can see, so we'll be replacing these before the season starts. Yeah, so what we do is we drill a very small hole for each of the screws. If you haven't got those there already, use a very good sealant in there as well, because we don't want any water to be able to get into the hull. And then you just have these caps on top, the rubber friction plates, and then you screw them in. The friction, these pads would have a slot in the middle, so you can move them that way or that way, so that they just touch your Daggerboards just enough to stop the Daggerboards from slipping down, but they do still allow you to push the Daggerboards down. But in a nutshell, that's it. You just have to be very careful drilling the holes in there, which are going to take these screws. Just really take your time, measure twice, maybe thrice, and drill once. Because drilling holes in your boat is always a bit emotional, I think we'll find there. There's Seb, he's looking for a hand, but everybody's sat on the tower drinking beer. Yes, that's right. The staff on the Wildwind Beach are drinking beer right now, even as we speak. I think if you're interested, there's some Amstel, some Mythos. I think those are the brands. And Mike, who does the paddle boarding, drinks Fix, which is another Greek brand. Okay, scrolling back. Thanks for coming, by the way. Oh, Ollie says hi, Mum, if Ollie's mum is watching. No, unlikely. Okay, we've got Cormac. Easiest way to hoist an F-18 kite. Okay, so with any spinnaker, the easiest, one of the key points with hoisting the spinnaker on your boat is to put the boat on a downwind point of sail before you start pulling it up. So this actually means that I'm liking to think that you might have watched enough videos on Joyrider TV to know about this standard downwind sailing angle for catamarans, with the apparent wind coming straight across the boat at 90 degrees. So when we go to hoist the spinnaker, we want our apparent wind angle to be even further downwind, so the wind is coming more from behind us. And to make it easier still, if you have the wind coming from straight behind, sorry, I'm pointing to things you can't see, straight behind the boat, then that means when the spinnaker starts going up, there'll be as little pressure in the sail as it goes up as possible. If you've got a 2-line system on your boat, so 1 line for the tack of the spinnaker, 1 for the halyard, then pull the tack out first and then pull the halyard. That's just easier to get the spinnaker to the end of the pole. Also, that tack line is going to pull the kind of, you're always going to end up with a bit of a lump of sail inside the chute. So pulling the tack line out is going to pull that lump of spinnaker out of the chute, which will make it a lot easier to put it up. So those would be the 2 key points to make it easier to hoist the spinnaker. Of course, make sure that all the lines are clear and clean. There's no knots in any lines. Perhaps the helmsman on the boat isn't standing on the halyard. That is something that can happen, and the crew should reprimand the helmsman for that kind of behaviour. The other way of making it easier to hoist the spinnaker on an F-18 style boat is, once again, I'm going to suggest a video. I've made quite an extensive video about using a spinnaker on an F-18 style boat, so I should certainly check that one out. I will link that video in the video description after I've finished this session, so that then it's easy to find. But I think if you put into YouTube, I like to think that if you typed in catamaran spinnaker, my catamaran spinnaker video would come up reasonably high in the rankings there. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, Dan, I nicked a section of the bottom of my hulls. Is there a quick solution to filling in the chip? Marine epoxy ? Yeah, this isn't my my strong point, talking about fiberglass repairs, because I don't really do much of that myself, but it certainly sounds like I think some marine epoxy would be a good idea. But I think you'd be better off posing that question to the Hobie Cat sailing community on one of the Facebook groups or forums, and there's always a lot of people who are very happy to help there. But I know on the bottom of the hulls, you don't want to be just using gel coat filler, because as soon as that stuff touches the floor, it's coming straight out again. So I should think epoxy or polyester resin would be the right stuff. Thanks for the question. I love Windex. Hello. When do we get to see you sailing an Optimist? Yeah. Oh, can you see an Optimist just out of the corner there? Yeah, that's an Optimist just there. Yeah, okay, it's going to happen, but I couldn't say when that would be. All right, just scrolling back. Sorry for the tappy noise. Jacob, any tips for crewing a 470? My friend has just bought one, and I don't know how to trapeze. Seems less stable on a monohull. Yeah, certainly is. Yeah, what would be my suggestions there? I think definitely dress for getting wet, because there's a strong chance that you could be going for a swim. I would also suggest, do check out the catamaran trapezing video. If you haven't done any catamaran trapezing, I haven't actually made a monohull trapezing video, but perhaps that is something that will be coming at some point. Check out the catamaran trapezing video. Essentially, the technique is the same, And then the best thing to do is to do some practice on land before you get into the boat. Hopefully on your first time out, the skipper of the boat isn't going to be demanding that you put the spinnaker up unless the wind is very light, because one of the things on the slightly more traditional monohulls like the 470 is it's a symmetrical spinnaker that has a pole that you have to wrangle by hand, which if you're sailing in a strong wind, especially with waves, that can become quite a difficult task to perform. So hopefully the skipper will be going easy on you, but definitely try trapezing, bit of practice on land. And then before you go out, one thing I learned on my first time crewing a monohull was it's definitely useful to know how to put the centerboard up and down. Because if the skipper says put the centerboard down and you then put it up all the way, you're going to capsize and there might be some interesting words exchanged. So well worth having a good look at that before you go. All right. I hope that helps. All right. Lil Farmer 07, do you on the boat park? Probably, yes. Don't quite understand what you're saying there. Flappy Bird, do you sail Opties at all? This is the second Optimist question I'm getting. What's going on? No, I've sailed an Optimist once. I once did some Optimist coaching for like one of these weeks when Optimist sailors come to. And I did some coaching for the lower level Optimist sailors, and as part of that I did sail Optimists a little bit, but I was already way too big to sail an Optimist, and no, so I don't do much Optimist sailing. All right, Paul, great to see you on the toys on the beach. Yeah, it's great to have them on the beach. All right, at this stage in the game it's getting a bit too bright to be continuing in the boat park, so I'm going to retreat once again to the workshop. Am I? Can I put this somewhere else so I can see? No, I can't. All right, going to retreat to the workshop so that I can see what you guys are saying a little bit more clearly. In fact, before I go inside, let's just do a few more preloaded questions, because I've been very organised today and I've actually printed them out. And it's nice to stay outdoors while we can. So I'll come on to your live questions very shortly. So next question on the preloads is from Tom, who asks, what should you wear under a dry suit? It's not something I have a lot of experience with because I do live permanently in Greece these days, but there's options basically depending on what you've got in your wardrobe and what temperature you're going to be experiencing. A lot of people wear dry suits even in warm conditions, and if you're going to do that, you definitely want to have something on underneath, because just that feeling of the dry suit against your skin on the inside can be quite uncomfortable. So in that situation, I would go for, if you've got them, it's all if you've got them, I would go for some lycra trousers and a lycra long sleeve top, like rash vest, or a one-piece lycra suit if you enjoy that kind of thing. So that would be if it's pretty warm. Then if it's a bit colder, you just want to add layers basically. So you could still go for the lycra as a base layer, and then maybe on top of that you could put some sort of fleece trousers and top of varying degrees of thickness. There is an undersuit which is generally known, I think, as a woolly bear suit, very popular with the dry suit wearers, which you'd go for a pretty thick woolly bear suit if it was going to be really cold. So there we go, Tom. That's all I've got on that. But you could go James Bond style, go for the dinner jacket, bow tie underneath. So when you come into the beach, just peel off the dry suit and there you are, ready for a posh function. Very good. All right, I'm just going to do the next preloaded question and then I'll go indoors so I can actually read what's coming up on the screen. So this next question comes from Ryan. Ryan is looking for his first cat. He races lasers and snipes very competitively, wins a lot. That's nice. He does. He's got a lot of experience with asymmetric spinnakers and the trapeze. Oh, he doesn't have a lot of experience trapezing or with spinnakers. He's trying to find a Hobie 14 because he weighs 64 kilograms. 64 kilograms for a Hobie 14 definitely is the right weight. I think if you are looking, he says his buddy's trying to get him to get a 16. Get the 16 if you're going to be sailing more with two people. But if you're mostly going to be sailing solo, the Hobie 14 is definitely the right choice. If you need help to find a Hobie 14 for sale, just send me an email and I will put a short video together asking the community for a Hobie 14 for sale in your area. Ryan continues, I've found a decent 17. Would this be okay for a first cat? I would say yes. I think because you've got a lot of sailing experience. The 17 is quite powerful, difficult to sail, but with some good technique, which can of course be found by watching some videos and asking people in your boat club, the 17 is a viable choice and you will have an absolutely great time on a 17. It's a much bigger boat than the 14, not just because it's 3 feet longer, but it's wider. It's got the wings for trapezing off, bigger sail. It's just a bigger boat generally, but that would work for you. He continues, I might also be able to convince someone to sell me an F16 blade. Now that is going to be a very serious boat for your first catamaran. So maybe the F16 might be a little bit juicy for the first boat if you haven't yet done any trapezing or using the spinnaker, because with an F16 you'll definitely be doing both. So perhaps I think the 17 or the 14 very good first choices. Yeah, and he's also seen a Supercat and a Prindle. All the brands are perfectly viable. What you're looking for is a boat in good condition that is seaworthy, and any brand of boat is going to get you the right skills for some good catamaran sailing. All right, let's go indoors. Or in fact, the sun's gone in. Okay, sorry to be messing you around, everybody, with this talk of going indoors. I know you're getting excited about it, but I like to stay out while it's possible. So just scrolling back. Okay, is that Ilya? Great to have you on board. Sorry, my reading of Russian isn't the best. Is it possible to break trapeze line, mast or shrouds if the weight of the crew is about 120 kilos per person? No, depends on what type of boat it is that you're sailing, but the Hobie 16, of course, which is our standard catamaran, which is more abundant in the world than any other type of cat. So that is what we talk about if a type isn't specified. But a Hobie 16 should be able to take up to about 250 kilograms. So the trapeze wires can certainly handle that amount of weight. Of course, it does depend a bit on when they were replaced last. So if your trapeze wires haven't been replaced for 10 years, with more weight on them, they will break earlier than with less weight on. The same thing goes for the ropes, the adjustment gear on the trapeze. if it hasn't been replaced for a long time, there is more of a chance that it will break with more weight. So if the boat is in good shape, there's no reason why you can't sail it with 240 kilos out on the trapeze. It's going to be pretty hard because what I find is the more weight you put on the trapeze, it effectively works like if you've got a multi-gym, you're adding more weight to the multi-gym. So when you pull the main sheet, you're pulling it to pull 240 kilograms out of the water rather than less. So you're going to have to work harder to keep both sailors out of the water. But a Hobie 16, she can take it. Certain other boats, smaller boats, might wince a little bit. I know that what was it I was looking at? I think it's like if you were going 2 up on an FX1, for example, she might not enjoy it so much because the hulls are very close to the water. But you can do it. There we go. All right, scrolling back. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Very nice to have you here. Hayden, hi. How you getting on with your new boat? Any experience getting brown colour off sails from sail numbers? Ouch. Do you know anything that's worked? Yeah, I made a video about 2 years ago, I think, just with testing out different products for getting glue, not off sails, but off like the mast, metal parts, that kind of thing. And what we found was a degreaser worked the best, but whether it's appropriate to use that on sailcloth, I don't know. I know that something that is very good at getting sticky residue off is using lighter fluid, because that kind of melts it off. And I have used lighter fluid in the past getting sticky residue off sails. So I would try some of that, see how you go with that. And yeah, that's the best that I can do for you at this time. All right, so scrolling back, we've got Rico on board. Hi, Rico. Is there a difference on conditions that would push us to, booking question, to book a week in July, August or September? I would say that the season here in Vasiliki is the most consistent between mid-June and early to mid-September. So the most if you want the maximum, the highest chance of it being classic conditions here for when you come out, July and August is always going to give you the best odds of the best conditions. The downside of July and August is it's generally a bit busier, both on the water and in the village. But that's nice as well, especially at the moment where it's not generally as busy even at that time. So I would certainly say July and August is the sweet spot in the season if you want to have the most chance of getting the most wind. It doesn't mean it's going to be absolutely crazy every day, but you should be getting certainly 20 knots of wind 6 afternoons out of 7 during the week, and the mornings should be fairly stable as well, with about 10 knots of wind in the mornings. So really, really good sailing conditions. You could try out new things in the morning and then go and send it, give it some beans, get on the speed stick in the afternoon. Nice. Okay, scrolling back. Thanks for coming, everybody. Great to have you on board. Okay. Timon, where do I book a vacation to visit Wildwind? I am from Germany. Yeah, I think the German website is called wildwind.de. We've got a German agent who's, we've got Peter and Lillian, who are German agents, very nice people, and you can book directly with those guys. But if you just go to the Wildwind website, I'm pretty sure the German version is wildwind.de, or you could go to wildwind.co.uk and just click on the German flag, and that will take you to the right place. But hopefully we'll be seeing you this summer then, Timon. Frank, hi. Yeah, Frank, I've got your question on the list, and I believe it's actually the next one. Should we go for it now? Let's go for it now. So Frank sails a Hobie, a Prindle 15 called Flying Free in, let's think, is it Lake Ontario, Canada? I've just been doing some research for Show Us Your Cat episode 100, so I've got all this info fresh in my mind. All right, Frank has had a situation. He said last summer he was in 25 knots of wind on a beam reach trying to tack, but was repeatedly unsuccessful. The waves were very big and pushing the nose of the boat in the opposite direction, and he was worried because he was getting close to the coastline. He tried to jibe, but the strong winds pushed the nose under the water. Crikey, this is like the script of a Hollywood movie. He quickly recovered and eventually made the tack. At the last, this is so Hollywood, Frank. This is a great story. So he was like inches off the rocks just when he made the tack and got away with it. Okay, and so we're talking tacking technique in tricky conditions. And in fact, I've got another preloaded question who is from Co-Location Green. I'm just going to read this question out as well, and then both of these questions got quite a similar answer. So Co-Location Green says, my friend and I have polished a barn find Hobie 17. Oh yeah, nice. Love the Hobie 17. He says, it pushes like a freight train once in the wind, but we cannot get it to tack. Rudders are okay, so it leaves mast position, jib handling, or maybe it's something to do with the combined crew weight of 240 kilograms. There's that number again. What are your tips to get it to turn? Firstly, so Frank, I'm coming on to, this is going to be a combined answer, but there's some specifics in Co-Location Green's question there that I'm going to address first. The first one is 240 kilograms on a Hobie 17 is going to make it more difficult because the Hobie 17 has got quite low volume hulls. So putting that much weight on the boat is going to make it tricky, especially in the tacking. So what you need to do is be very delicate in any movements that you make around the boat, because if you both move or start moving across the boat as soon as you initiate the tack, chances are you're going to upset the balance of the boat and that might stall the tack in one go. So it's definitely one of you move across the boat at a time and just really minimize the amount of movements you're doing around the boat. Be very sensitive with forwards and backwards movements as well to try to keep the boat just really level in the water. So if that's the hull, we want it level. We don't want the nose down or the nose up. There we go. All right, so that is just specific. Mast position, jib handling. Let's just go for, this is for Frank as well. Any conditions, so the thing that, the alarm bell that rings on Frank's question is he says he was sailing on a beam reach. Now, firstly, with catamarans, if you try tacking from a beam reach is what we also call half wind, where we're sailing with the true wind just coming straight onto the side of the boat. That means that you've actually got to sail 90 degrees, you've got to steer through 90 degrees before your head to wind, which means while you're steering up to head to wind, you're going to lose all of your forward momentum and your inertia, and you're much more likely to stall your tack and not have a successful outcome. So point number one for tacking any conditions, but definitely in strong wind conditions, is sail the boat as close to the wind as you possibly can before the tack. If there's enough wind so that the windward hull just can come up a little bit, then just a few seconds before you tack, really put the boat up towards the wind, so perhaps even the front of the jib starts flapping because you're sailing so close to the wind. That is going to reduce the angle that you have to turn the boat through, making your chance of success in the tack more guaranteed, because you've only got to turn from there to there rather than from there to there, which you're just going to stop by the time you get head to wind if you go for the latter. So it's what you call pinching. Pinching is where you're sailing too close to the wind. So before you tack, really crank the main sheet in, even if it's very strong winds. Bring the traveller in. If you're struggling to get it to go through, bring the traveller in almost to the centre, even if it's windy. Crank the main sheet in, and if it's windy and you feel that you're getting overpowered, you can balance that power against sailing closer to the wind, which will help to reduce the power and also reduce your tacking angle. Establish that course for a few boat lengths, and then when you're ready, make sure you've communicated with the crew, you've got a plan of how you're going to move around the boat, and then uncleat the main sheet, but hold it, don't release it at that point. Push the rudders fairly assertively to get the boat to turn into the wind, and then as soon as the wind comes in the other side of the jib, at that moment, not a second later, then release the main sheet. Just let it go and let the whole thing run out, and that will allow the boat to bear away on the new side. Those are the key points, and if you engage those key points, you should certainly make most of your tacks. So, crank the main sheet in, pinch up to the wind, establish your course, then uncleat the main sheet, but hold it, initiate the turn. When the jib backs, release the main sheet, and that will pop through like I don't know what that'll pop through like, but very nicely indeed. Cheers, Frank. And I think I might have seen co-location green there as well. Oh yeah, thanks. Oh, I didn't know you were there, but thanks anyway. Yeah, lovely. Thanks for tuning in. All right, scrolling back. I hope everybody's having a lovely time. I hope everybody's revved up for the weekend. I'll do a poll later to see who's going out sailing, because that's always very interesting, isn't it? I feel. All right. Quite a lot on the scroll back. We've got Robin. Hi, Robin. Robin's there with a Hobie 16, of course, in Florida. Very nice. Thanks for tuning in, Robin. Bullthrush. Here we go. Back to the epoxy hull repair question. Epoxy mixed with cotton flocks is a good small repair. Epoxy by itself isn't very strong. There we go. We are all learning stuff today. Every day is a school day when it comes to fiberglass repairs. Judith, hi, thanks for tuning in. One question: what is the most important thing to consider when starting catamaran sailing single-handed? I want to start sailing on my own this summer. Yeah, I would say the most important thing to consider is, of course, the safety. And first one is never go, depends on where you're going sailing. If you're on a small to medium-sized lake, not as important. But if you're going out sailing on the open sea, don't go out with an offshore wind. Point number one. because if anything happens, you're not getting back. So don't go out with an offshore wind for a start. Second thing, check the forecast. And I know that in the real world, everybody does have quite a narrow window of opportunity when it is actually possible for them to go sailing. But if you can, at least to start with, go out a couple of times when the forecast is for light to moderate winds, you know, like from 5 to 15 knots, stable, no stormy conditions in the area, that is going to be much better for you, much safer than if it's likely that the wind could get strong or if there's a chance of a storm or anything like that. So check the wind conditions, the wind direction, also the sea state. If you are sailing on the sea, if you use a website like Wind Guru is the, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but it's certainly one of the most well-known. On Wind Guru, it will tell you how big the waves are likely to be as well. So if it looks like the waves are going to be quite big, you could also reconsider, or if you've got the option, consider sailing on a lake or a reservoir nearby instead of the sea. So always safety being the main thing. Make sure you've got a buoyancy aid that fits. In your buoyancy aid pocket, have a knife and a whistle. I'm definitely big on the whistle these days. In fact, I might get some Joyrider TV whistles made and take over the whistle world with those bad boys. Yeah, and just really check the boat before you put it in the water. Double check everything just to set yourself up as well as you can. All right, that I think there's some starting points there, Judith, so I hope that's helpful. All right, just scrolling back. All right, okay, we've got some thanks Andreas for stepping in there with Tim on. Judith, I didn't even notice any typing errors, so don't worry. Carl, hi. Do you have suggestions for dolly wheels? My beach sandy, then muddy when the tide is low. Yeah, you want to be, unfortunately, you definitely want to be getting the big wheel trolley, which, of course, the big wheel trolley is fairly expensive if you have to buy a new one. There are second-hand ones that do come up for sale occasionally, but these big wheels are just going to float across soft sand. Not sure about mud, but soft sand, they'll work well. So definitely a trolley like this. If you're in Europe, a good place, a source of getting hold of these, of the parts, so you can make your own, is called cadcat.com. I think it's C-A-D-K-A-T or K-A-D-C-A-T, either of those. But yes, you definitely want to get hold of one of those bad boys. But do keep looking for second-hand ones, just whatever your local second-hand market is. Okay, if we can have no further questions, please. We're almost up to an hour, and after an hour, that Amstel is just calling too loudly. So there we are. All right, just scrolling back. Thanks for your questions, though. This has been a really juicy session, I think you'll find. All right. Sewell Lee, hi. Thanks for tuning in again. And I think that's Ilya, but I'm not sure because my Russian reading skills are lacking. What is your opinion about a safety line when sailing alone? If I'm in the water and cannot capsize and go away, I think some elastic rope is a good idea. Yeah, we talked about this last week actually, but the topic of, so just to put the question into a more tidy bracket, is what do I think about attaching myself, or should you attach yourself to the boat with some sort of safety line, which could be elastic or rope, but maybe tied on to your buoyancy aid, your trapeze harness, something like that, and tied on to a part of the boat. So if you fall into the water, you will be attached to the boat. My thoughts on that are no, I'm not into it, because if you are attaching yourself to the boat with another rope, that is a rope that you could very easily get tangled up in if you did fall in the water, if you capsized, or if you just stumbled on the boat. You could get tangled very, very easily in another rope, especially if it's attached to you. For me, what I do if I'm sailing single-handed is I am very mindful of holding on to the main sheet at all times. Never let go of the main sheet. So if I do fall off the boat, I know that I've got the main sheet in my hand, and then by having the main sheet in your hand, it means that when you're in the water, you're automatically going to be tightening the main sheet, which if the wind is light, what that will do is make the boat turn up into the wind. And if the wind is strong, what that might actually do is capsize the boat for you, both of which are going to be positive outcomes. If it's windy and you're holding on to the main sheet and the boat capsizes, it's going to be much easier to get back to the boat than if the boat is still sailing a bit. So that is what I think on the subject of safety lines. But you do need to be extremely mindful of holding on to the main sheet at all times. There we go. Thank you very much. All right, scrolling back. As you could probably tell by some sort of banging noise. All right. All right, Sewell Lee says, any suggestions about practicing race start by oneself? Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And it's definitely something that I should be doing myself. But what you want to do is just out on the water somewhere, find something you can use as a start line. That could be between two buoys, maybe if there's moored boats, between two moored boats, so that that line is square to the wind, the same that a start line would be. If you don't have that facility for two things out on the water, what you could do, if there's one buoy out on the water or one anchored or moored boat, is you could take a transit from that boat and line it up with something on land, which is pretty much square to the wind, and then use that is on land as the other end of the start line, and then practice. Hopefully you've got a watch with a timer on it, but then maybe set a 2-minute timer and just see how long you can sit parked on the start line without going over, and then work out how long it takes you to get your boat up to speed to cross the start line, and just do different variations of that kind of exercise. So try a sort of slow creeping approach to the start line, the stopped, and then accelerate as fast as you can. Try all the different approaches and just get used to sailing your boat slowly and having that barrier of the start line that you're not allowed to cross it until the time expires. That would be a really good exercise to start with. But put yourself in as many different situations as you possibly can. There we go. All right, we're just getting into the quicker answers now because we are up to 1 hour All right, scrolling back. Scrolling back. Still quite a lot of questions here. All right, so we've got Co-Location Green. Co-Location Green's name is Carl. Hi. Great. Kuhn, thanks for tuning in. Nekatusa, do you have toes? Yes, depending on the day, but generally, yes, toes are evident. Eric, hi. Kuhn, what type of telltales do you recommend for the leech of the sail? Wool or spinnaker material? I'd go for spinnaker material for the leech of the sail. I think it just flies a bit better. And on wool, what you get is those little fibres that come off the wool, which can get caught on the stitching of the sail. Whereas if you're using spinnaker cloth, there's nothing there to get caught on anything. So spinnaker cloth is my choice there. Wicked, thanks for the question. Lewis, I've seen videos fixing soft spots on hulls, drilling holes and ejecting epoxy. Local boat supplies sales rep said it's better to put fiberglass on and coat everything with epoxy instead. Is that better? I think, once again, I have to say I'm not an expert in fiberglass repairs, but from what I've seen and heard, this injected epoxy repair method, there's been quite a bit of it on the Facebook groups lately with people having really good results with it. The thing with this is you'll still have the good finish on the outside of the hull, and it is non-evasive, so you're not cutting a hole in the hull to get in there. So I would say this injection technique is definitely worth a go. I would check out the Hobie groups on Facebook because there's been a lot of people having some good results on there, and you could get directly in touch with those guys through Facebook, and off you go. That would be my recommendation there. Graham, hi. What water shoes do you use? Okay, depends on the wind strength. I've got 2 pairs that I use. In the lighter winds, when it's not speed run time, when we're not going out with the GPS trying to do 25 knots, I'll be using the Zero Shoes Colorados, which are like a sort of amphibious sandal with the very low profile sole. Extremely lightweight, very comfortable, plenty of space for the toes, and I've had them for just over a year now, and I would recommend them to anyone, except for if you're sailing a boat which has kind of like this kind of not very grippy hull. They've got quite a hard compound rubber on the sole, which means if you're going against rubber, like on the sidebar of a Hobie 16, they're really good. The grip is good. But if you're going on this kind of fairly smooth surface, like on this is FX1 here, the grip isn't amazing because of the hard compound rubber. The other sailing shoes that I use are Gull Code Zeros, which are fantastic. I really like them, and but I don't wear them when it's lighter winds because I really like the Zeros, and they're good for on the beach as well, so you don't have to change your shoes when you come in. Handy. All right, scrolling back. No more questions, please. All right, Clement. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry, this is not a cat question, but he's new to sailing and about to participate in first ever regatta. I am 15. Any tips? Thanks. Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I have actually written an article, which I haven't yet published. But what I can do, if you send me an email, Clement, my email address is totaljoyrider@icloud.com. Send me an email. I will send you the unpublished article, and there are a lot of really solid gold tips there. And for everybody else, I'll publish that article fairly soon so that you can see it. So there we go. We're into quick answers. All right, scrolling back. All right, scrolling back. Scrolling back. All right, Corky. Hi, Corky. Corky sells a Dart 16 in the UK. Looking for some advice on where we should be standing on the boat when we're going for it and what the front of the boat should look like. Nice question. We're talking about going fast, I believe. Yeah, so the sort of science of going fast is start off on a beam reaching course. If it's windy enough to go fast, you will need to be fairly well back on the boat. You're single trapezing on the Dart 16, so as the helm, I would get right up against the back beam, if not kind of like almost hiking out over the back beam, and then with the crew directly behind you, almost as far back as they can go. And then what you want to do on your beam reach, get a cranking along. Every time the hull lifts, ease a little bit of main sheet and bear off more downwind. If the bow starts dipping, ease a bit more main sheet. Yeah? Because if you don't ease enough main sheet, you could stick the nose in, which could obviously result in the pitch pole. So when the hull lifts, ease the main sheet, turn more downwind, balancing the main sheet against the bow of the boat, making sure that the crew is right at the back. And then once you're on that new course, start to bring the main sheet back in. Again, work the main sheet against the leeward bow to get it in the optimum spot. The more that you play the main sheet, the more that you know where you are and where the limits are. So really work the main sheet. What you can do also is check out the video on going for speed, which was from September, October last year. There's a lot of good stuff in there. All right, scrolling back. All right, no more questions, please. All right, feeling quite thirsty now, that's for sure. Hi, Fernando. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, Bull Thrush. Just thanks for giving out some advice there. That's great. Lil Farmer 07. I've already been sailing on Lake Ontario this year. That must have been chilly. All right. Stefano, hi. Stefano is 15, sails a Hobie Dragoon. If I want to change boat, what do you think should be the best? Lot of choices there. If you're going to be sailing with two people, and let's just say if your budget, if money is not a problem, if you could get any boat at all, if you're 15 years old and you're sailing, you want to sail a two-person boat, I think the very best choice is the Nacra 15. That would be the one. But I would also say if you're sailing with two people and perhaps you don't have unlimited money to spend on a boat, I did feed the cat, yeah. But the cat can have a little bit more. Because I only gave the cat a little bit. Just talking about feeding the cat. Yeah, so the Hobie 16, another good choice. Yeah, I would go Hobie 16, Nacra 15. Those would be the two best choices. The Nacra 15 is quite expensive. If you can get a F16 for a better price, then that would also be a good choice. But the Nacra 15 is specifically designed for youth sailing, thus making it a good choice. Thanks for that, Stefano. Good luck with that. Okay. All right. I believe we are progressing through here. Robin. Oh, Robin says this would be for solo sailing. Robin always takes an EPIRB when sailing alone. That way the Coast Guard can pick you up if you lose the boat. That is a top tip from the real world. So definitely look into that if you're looking at sailing alone. If you're also sailing solo, back to the sailing solo, see if there's any other sailors at the spot where you sail from, and see if you can get a bit of a gang together to get out on the water at the same time. So although you're solo on your boat, maybe there'll be some other boats out at the time. So if you don't have specific safety cover, there is safety in numbers where somebody else could come and help you if something happened. All right, Lewis says, thanks for all the time and videos that you put into this. Took the family out for the first sail last week. Very nice, couldn't have done it without the videos. Fantastic. I'm really glad that this stuff has been helping so much. It is good. There, I have to say, there is a significant amount of time that goes into it. Don't tell anyone, but I'm putting as much time into the videos at the moment as I am into actually working at my job, which the job, of course, pays the bills. So do feel free to support Joyrider TV if you so wish. And I have to say also, Show Us Your Cat episode 100 is turning into being a massive task. So I am actually thinking of taking next week off Show Us Your Cat. How would that be okay? Can I do that? 1 week off? I think since Show Us Your Cat started, I've done every single week. So I think I'm allowed 1 week off. Seawell Lee, there are 2 holes on the rudder blade of Hobie 16 where you insert the bolts, yes. To fix a blade in the rudder casting, the holes may become larger after use. How to repair the holes? Oh, I think I know this one. So what you need to do is, what Seawell Lee is saying is that the holes where the bolts go through the rudder blade have become enlarged over size, which if that happens, it means you'll never be able to get your rudders to lock down properly. So what you need to do is take out any inserts that are in the rudder blades. There might be some like metal inserts, and then fill those holes with epoxy. Feel free to dive in, anybody, for what you think you should fill the holes with, and then once that has, give that a bit of time to go off, and then re-drill the holes and put the inserts back in, and that should do it. Jeff, hi. Jeff is doing his first race this Sunday, called Spring Series. Wish me luck. Good luck, Jeff. In Hong Kong, no way. Jeff's in Hong Kong. Woohoo. Good luck, Jeff. Let us know how you get on. If you want to take some photographs from that event, then future episode, Show Us Your Cat, that would be nice. Ah, Clement's in Hong Kong too. He might be going to the same event. How funny would that be? All right. Then we've got a lot of people. Yeah, then we've had a bit of a chat about where everyone's from. All right, Clement says, is a compass recommended for races? And if so, where can I get one on a budget for my first regatta? No. To be honest, I've only ever carried a compass on my boat once for a race, and that was when doing the round Texel race in Holland, which is one of the biggest catamaran races in the world, long distance. But unless a compass is required, like in the sailing instructions, if they say you must carry a compass, then obviously you have to. But if it's not in the sailing instructions that you have to, then it's not necessary. All right, scrolling back. Okay, scrolling back. All right, Kyle, hi. Aha, Kyle has got a Prindle 19. Oh, and I've taught you to sail, thanks, that's great to know. All right, sorry, just, I really struggled to get the tramp good and properly tied down. Any tips and tricks? Yes, getting the trampoline really wet before you tighten it and the lacing can really help to get it really tight, because as the water, as it dries, the trampoline will, what's the word, contract, which will make it tighter. Try to use a reasonable quality rope. You can, something like a 5mm with a polyester core is generally all right, but I think on the Prindle 19, does it just lace up at the back? If it does, you could even use some Dyneema or something. It would only be like, what, 6 meters of Dyneema for a tight trampoline, worth a look. Yeah, and just take anything off the trampoline that you can. So don't get all the ropes and everything off the trampoline before you start tightening it. And that way you should be able to get it a bit tighter. And check out the videos. Just put into YouTube catamaran trampoline, and there should be several videos that pop up to help you. There is, of course, an index of all the videos that I've made as well, which is linked in pretty much every video that goes out. So there we go. Nick, hi. That was Nick, who's got the very beautifully restored Cat Fever Hobie 16. Gerables, hi from Vasiliki. Great to have you on board. Who could that be? Gerables. Okay, the mystery of who that could be. All right, just to confirm, is it totaljoyrider@icloud.com? That is right. Yes, send me an email, I'll send you an article. All right, nice. Great. Bernardo, come on, it's already May. Let's get in the water. I've just been out on the water, Bernardo. Just keeping it from you. I'm not going to show you everything, am I? Just warming up. Oh, look, we've got Ricky Nielsen here. And you can get a Joyrider hoodie like this.
Oh, yeah.
At totaljoyrider.com. It's a great way of supporting the channel and staying warm for those evenings when you want to be drinking beer on the beach. You sticking around for a bit?
Yeah.
I'll
probably collect that SIM card at some point.
Oh yeah, I'll be finished shortly.
Thank you.
That's Rick. Rick's one of the main guys here. He's a very nice guy, and he's a passionate Burnley football supporter. So there you go. Oh, soccer, yeah. Wild Tapestry 84. Good morning. Hi. Classic JB Weld is good for, oh, the holes in the rudder blade. All right, nice one, thanks. All right, Steen, could you explain a bit on mast rotation in or out? Yeah, okay. Then I think no further questions, please. Oh my goodness, they just keep coming. All right. I'm going to answer everyone's questions, but could you please stop giving me more? Because it's been a long day. All right, mast rotation, we're going over to Bad Boy 94 to have a look at that. The way we determine what the mast rotation is doing, how we talk about it, is we've got this part, which is called the spanner bar. We've got a line on the boom here on this occasion, which just restricts mast rotation. And what we generally want pretty much all of the time is the spanner bar to be pointing directly at the leeward shroud. Yeah? Fantastic. If you put the mast in that position, you will be going well. What you can do is bring it in a little. Nah, let's not even go there, because I don't do it. So I think you should. I should just be telling you to do what I do, or rather than making stuff up, which I don't do because I don't believe in it. So why would I say that? Because other people have said it. That's not the right reason to say stuff, is it? So I won't say that. Point it at the shroud, and that is the spot. There we go. All right, let her. All right. Scrolling back. All right. All right, Cebu. Hello, greetings from Germany. I hope, stay behind you in 15 days. 7 need more practice on a Hobie. Oh, you're coming here in 7 days, 15 days. Great stuff, yeah. I'm actually sitting on the Hobie 16 that you're going to be sailing, possibly. We've got 6 Hobie 16s here, but yes, that's great news that you're coming out. Fantastic. Kyle, you've got a section that laces up the middle. Do have a short part Dynooma. We'll try wetting the tip for sure. Yes. Bernardo, use the main sheet to tighten your trampoline. It's a big part of the boat. Supports the framework. Yeah, I don't think you could do that on the Prindle 19 though, Bernardo. I think that is very much a Hobie 16 method. Rico, if I come with my girlfriend, I believe that means, for a Hobie 16 training, are we going to be 3 on the boat? Oh yeah, if you're coming out for instruction, then you will be 3 on the boat at times, but we do a lot of coaching from outside the boat. So what would generally be a teaching structure here at Wild Wind would be in the lighter winds. You'd be on the boat, just you and your girlfriend, out on the water, and then we'll have a power boat that will be coaching you from outside of the boat. And then occasionally an instructor will get on the boat with you and just to polish up any technique. Bye, Bernardo, thanks for coming. But not 3 on the boat at all times. And we are extremely flexible, so you don't have to be joining the lessons all of the time. There we go. Nicholas, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks very much. All right, I think that's us done. So there we go. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It looks like you have all hit the like button already. That's great. Tell your friends, and yeah, Sunday for Show Us Your Cat. I've got another juicy video coming tomorrow, which is definitely aimed at the more beginner monohull sailors, or if you're not sure on the English sailing terms, it's about parts of the boat on a monohull. So I'll be going through all the parts of the boat on a monohull. That'll be going up at 5:30 Greek time tomorrow afternoon. So don't forget to watch that and tell your friends. But thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week with some more Q&A, and I'll see you on Sunday also for this epic Show Us Your Cat, which I'm only about a third of the way through making it at the moment, and yeah, looking forward to that. Great stuff. Good luck to you.